All right, here we go.
You're driving.
Let's move. Here we are, Judy Dude, Benjamin Donegar James, or Benny Boy. I don't know what to call you.
Ben.
Not BJ.
It was Ben.
Look at your face. You just want to kill me. All right. So the whole point of actually doing this, can you imagine if that was real? Like you can actually like send,
What? Choker-vision.
yeah,
Like
Chocovision.
smell, like smell-o-vision, but choker-vision.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Mother-in-law. No. So
There's another video we won't be able to publish.
no, we will do because I said it, not you. Okay.
That one. Keep it clean.
Yeah, I don't care. No swearing.
I won't.
So, all right. So job boards. We want to talk. We want to help people today about like how we look for jobs and possibly like how you deal with recruiters and stuff like that. And like share with them, tactics. I'll share a little bit of my tactics. You share a little bit of your tactics. We just keep it from there. Let's go.
Because
So
it's a
job.
minefield. A lot of people are intimidated by having to look for a new job.
Yeah, this is
And
true.
a lot of people are going to have to look for a new job. But then, for other people, particularly if you've done contracting, it becomes more of something you have to do regularly. So there
Yeah.
are not so much skills, but there are techniques, and there's a mental perspective to try and get your head into.
Yeah, this is true. You see, it's just like I think a lot of people it's just it depends. Sorry, let me just mute this. Some guy is stalking me. It's just like for me, it's just like I use different. I don't just apply for jobs on a job board. I do tend to use a whole different scenario. It's just a whole big topic, and it takes like when I train people on this, it takes like 45 minutes for me to just show people how to apply the skill. Because a lot of people just go to the job board and apply for jobs as you normally would, but there's a different way of doing it. Because if you got like that entrepreneurial, head mind space on, then there's a different way for you to approach, which actually gets you noticed better. I mean, but it's just like I use JobSite or JobServe. No, I use JobServe,
Job serve.
and yeah, I just do. But right now, it's just like not much jobs out there. So it's how do you differentiate yourself to a lot of people? So that's like search items. What do you do?
What do I do? Well, you start in the obvious place. You use your job boards. You
Yeah,
search to see what's out there. I think it's important to know that a lot of the roles are basically recruiters fishing for CVs. Because this is the thing, right? I find the engagements I have with recruiters that tend more often than not to result in an interview are where they approach me because they have a role and they're trying to fill it and they've found a candidate or they've found a pool of candidates they want to talk to who they think they can put in. Whereas with a job advert, you're applying along with who knows how many other people. But it's a known technique. They put ads out there that a lot of people apply for with a particular skill set that they can put on their database because you consent to going on their database when you apply. And so, by doing that, they harvest the CVs, they get the details, they know who's out there, and then they've got people to start calling when, a contract or a role like that does land.
yeah,
So, first thing you do, or I do, is just start applying because you're going to hit some of those, but you're also going to hit some legit ones and you'll get the call straight back.
true.
Yeah, what else? And from there, it's really just a case of trying to cultivate that relationship with some of the recruiters. The ones who call you the most often will start to get to know you, particularly if you have relatively niche skills.
Yeah,
Because the recruiters tend to recruit for niches, so they get to know the people who they're talking to regularly. Just because you haven't spoken to somebody regularly doesn't mean that they can't. They won't be delighted to make contact and be able to go, right, I've got another person here I can start to put out there for some of these roles.
yeah,
And that's really it. After that, this is assuming your skills are where they should be or where you're saying they are, and you can actually get through an interview. That's the main thing, is being able to find those roles and effectively wait for the phone to start ringing. You've got to do the work to get the phone ringing. You've got to put your CV out there.
yeah,
You LinkedIn, apply to jobs, permanent jobs directly, use JobServe or JobSite or CV Library or wherever, Monster. again, for the same or for contract. I find that JobServe is best for contract. Would you agree?
Yes and no. JobServe is really good for me to see a list of job. I only use JobServe, but the thing about JobServe is that it gives me like a nice list of like what people are looking for, and you know what it is that you gotta see it that it's just a wish list at the end of the day. You know that hopefully that they could get one person could do as much as possible. Because at the end of the day, it's really impossible, in my view and my understanding, of someone to be really good at Azure and then also have AWS just as the same in-depth knowledge and Google Cloud. You know, I don't care
as
what
well as
anybody.
being a network engineer and a storage expert and
Knowing Python,
knowing how to configure a server hardware.
knowing Terraform,
Exactly.
knowing
Yeah. Oh, and by the way,
Ansible,
can you also do some Ansible? Yeah.
knowing
And you need to be
Linux.
certified in Red Hat. Yeah.
You know, it's just like, dude, that means to me that you got to find someone who's got no interest in anything else other than tech, and you're gonna have
I don't think anyone. I've worked with some really, really, really skilled people. I've
yeah,
worked. I work with some idiots. I think we all have.
yeah,
But
we have.
and some would say I'm one of the idiots. But I've worked with some people who are awe-inspiring in their level of dedication and skill and
Yeah.
knowledge, and their ability and desire to continue to expand their knowledge. I mean, I know I can think of two people whose one's an architect and one was an engineer I worked with previously, whose their PowerShell skills alone are. It's like watching a master pianist at work. It's amazing to watch, and it's just, you know, I use PowerShell like a bludgeon. You know, I hit things over the head with it. I don't use it like a laser scalpel. And these guys are, you know, they have that skill, but they don't have other skills. You can't have them all. You can know a lot, and you can have touched everything, and you can have worked on everything over the course of a long career, and have a very good memory and be able to regurgitate a lot of it and just get straight back in. But I haven't worked with anyone. I don't think I've ever worked with anyone who actually could tick every box on the average job wish list.
No.
And I think that's an important thing to differentiate, or not to differentiate, but to try to get across to people. It's the fact that when you are looking for a new role, whether it's contract or permanent, the list of mandatory experience, the list of desirable experience, and the list of technologies that they want you to be skilled in is so often totally, utterly unrealistic.
Yeah.
And even if it was, you know, even if that was the role they were actually looking for you to be able to, you know, be an expert in all this stuff, I've never seen anyone offering a salary that would reward the kind of person who could do that sufficiently. It's like, you've got to be a third line infrastructure engineer in this role. We're going to offer you 35 grand. By the way, you have to be able to do all this stuff. And you're like, no one can do that. And even if they could, you'd be paying them 4 times that. So that's quite an important thing to understand, is that, you know, the recruiters call it a unicorn list because they're looking for a mythical beast, you know?
Yeah.
You know, we refer to it as a wish list because we know it's what the hiring person, whoever's written the ad, would like. Or quite often it's just a list of everything that they have used, might use, and are using. But you need to know, you know, you can only find out by applying which part of that wish list is actually important. So and then the job becomes trying to match yourself. Like, right, do I have the skills that they actually need here? You look at something that lists, you know, you've got to be a network engineer, you've got to be an expert in storage, you need to know Azure, a bit of AWS and GCP. Can you script in Python and PowerShell? And you're like, which of those do you actually need me to do?
Yeah.
Because I can't script in Python.
I've only met one person. I've only met one person who was capable of Red Hat Linux, Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform, all these things via command line. Hated Azure though. Hated anything with GUI. Right? Couldn't literally. It was just like he was just like, where do I click? Where do I click? And I was like, dude, click here, click, 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 done. He was like, you know Azure then, or you know Azure DevOps, because if it's just like if you navigate yourself around and you memorize that, it's just like easy. But he was like a wizard on this. But he had a personality of a doorknob. And it was just like, there's that balance. So it's just like, if you hire someone who's technical, really, really proficient, you should just, but here again, here's the list.
You
They
can't
want a
also
guy.
then expect to use that person for pre-sales.
Yeah. And it's like, you can't, and it's just like, look, there's nothing wrong with someone who actually knows. Like for me, pre-sales, dude, I was selling. I sold. It's just like customers loved me. I was able to actually hear what they had to say, and then be able to constructively articulate that in a way for them to see that our product actually met their needs. But ask me to do the technical stuff, like how I was describing this guy, not a chance.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Your brain hemisphere works differently, and you just have to admit or understand what your strong points are.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to say that. Can I do the job? Yes, I can sit down and teach myself and all that rubbish. But as you can tell, it's just like, if you're a people person, you approach things differently. But yeah, no, that guy was awesome, man. You'd be impressed, just like that other guy. But just the way it is. But it's about location and remote split, and
But
now,
once you've found your role, yeah, you got to start looking at where do you want to work? How can you work? Who wants to commute? Really?
not me.
I don't. But then I don't live in a studio apartment with another half who's driving me mad.
Yeah.
If you that this is one of the, if you've seen on LinkedIn how black and white this conversation has started to get when you see people posting about work from home, or you've got to go into the office or you're going to be made redundant because no one can see you. It's like, well,
Yeah.
but there are grey areas. There are people who don't want to go into an office, don't want to commute, and it's not because they're lazy, it's because the commute was killing them.
Yeah.
Commutes aren't fun, they're stressful.
Tell me about it.
Some people commute for hours at a time, some people just go around the corner. But if you can be as effective from home, if you're going to open your laptop at home and start working at, I don't know, say you do a 9 to 5 job, yeah, that means that on a normal day you're up and out of the house between 7, let's say 7 o'clock, right, to get there in time to be a little bit early and be logged in and ready to go at 9. If you don't have to do the commute, you get better quality of life if you get ready and logged in for 9. You've got other, you can do other things like maybe not live in a tip of a house. You can do some tidying, or equally you can start earlier. Some people are happy to start earlier. Get my breakfast, get my coffee, crank open the laptop at 8, start.
You have a better time.
You start and you're not already in a bad mood because no one's sworn at you or tried to push you under a train.
Or you're on the tube and your face was in someone's armpit.
Well, yeah.
I'm 5'9".
Some other people thrive on the personal contact. They want to walk into an office and say hello to everyone, meet everyone, have that engagement. So, I just think that there is a much more, there are lots more facets to this argument than just you're lazy if you want to work from home and you don't want to commute, or, you need to be in the office to be seen, or I'm just more productive at home, so I should never leave home. I think, even in the same role, sometimes it helps to go places. So, but you have to then ask yourself, look at your location. If you do have to go somewhere, how far are you actually prepared to go? What will actually fit into your life? What's going to make you not want to commit suicide? Because I've worked around the corner from home.
Yeah.
I've also made mistakes where I've had to commute a very, very long way. And you do it on a Sunday and you think, yeah, I can do this on a dry run.
Yeah.
But then you try it on a Monday at rush hour and you realize that you've signed up for a very, very long commute. Yeah. Really good example would be a role I took. I live near Newbury and I took a role in Basingstoke. And I went down to I call it naive. I did a drive on a Sunday. I was like, right, okay, nice, easy road, lovely B road that runs between the two towns. Not in rush hour. In rush hour, it's nose to tail traffic. You get one tractor or HGV that can't get up a hill. There's no overtaking spots. And your 20-minute run turns into a solid hour.
Mm.
And that's before you deal with the traffic jams at either side in the town. So, suddenly it's a really long journey. So you know, you need to decide, right, what can I do? You know, can I do a 2-hour journey into London on the train? Yeah, I've got loads of productivity I can do. I can do my emails, I can do training, I can read books, I can watch Netflix. It'd be wonderful to get that time. Will it really?
No.
Is it going to wear you out? Are you
Yeah.
actually going to have time to do other things in your life? Because you do that journey and you've got to do it back as well. Then when you're going to get home, you're talking, you know, let's say you left home at 6:30. You're not going to get home until 6:30, 7. You know, you've got to sleep for 8 hours ish. Doesn't leave you a lot of time to have a life in that time unless your life becomes work. So, you know, there needs to be some focus, I think, when you're applying for stuff. Don't let the desperation to get a job make you sign up to something that you realistically can't do.
Yeah, but it's just like I think for some people, if they're trying to get experience or try to get on the career ladder, or if they're moving from from normal, when I say normal, like rack and stack technology into a cloud, you gotta take a sacrifice and do like 6 months to a year in something that you landed. But it's just like I think moving forward, dude, it was just like you're gonna have a bucket of companies that says, look, when we hire you for the first time, you can work from home from day one.
Yeah.
And I've worked for a company like that. Clarinet does that. Clarinet basically just said, yeah, we're going to hire perm or contract, depending on your role. If you're in pre-sales, if you have to work or collaborate with people in the office, certain types of people, you have to come to the office. But other than that, you work from home, and it was like day one. And it's just like, cool. And then you hear other companies that are doing that, like DXC and all these other places, they advertise their roles like that. Day one, you work from home, certain jobs. And then you got other companies that go, well, after COVID or whatever, it's 50-50 split. Well, the thing a lot of people don't understand is that you either work from home or you don't work from home, or you come into the office like twice a month. And I brought that to awareness of some other people because for me, like my monthly ticket is close to £1,000, right, to get into London. And it's like, well, if I'm only coming into the office twice a week, there's no, that's a lot of money. I'll need to come in 3 times a week for the ticket to work, for it to be
worth having.
yeah. But then it's like, okay, what's the point? You know what I mean? So is your business, is the company going to cover this charge, or because if not, it just doesn't make sense. I either come to work or I don't come to work, but I'm more or less effectively at home. So what's the point? So I think there's a lot of companies out there that are going to miss a lot of like talent, and you're going to a lot of companies that, because let's put it this way, right? If my ticket costs £13,000 a year, and I get a job I'm gonna be paid, let's say £100,000, right? But I find myself in a job that's like, I don't know, 89,000 pounds, and you can work from home full time from day one. I'm going to take the lower pay job because not only do I get my life back for not commuting, I'm effectively working for the same amount of money.
Well, don't forget as well, if you're talking about a permanent salaried job, that 13 grand that you pay is presumably it's coming from your net pay. So actually the difference between your 100 and your 89 is even bigger once you've taken out the tax portion and consider what that actually equates to. So yeah, it's definitely, these are all things that I think need to be considered when you're deciding what role to get and where to go. I think the nice thing about COVID is that we've talked for a long time about the fact that when you work in the cloud space, a lot of times it's nonsensical to have to commute, whereas the whole point of it is it's accessible from anywhere. There are obviously exceptions when you have secure systems and so on, or you're dealing with an on-prem or a hybrid thing that you're working with. But COVID's forced the issue. I mean, I've worked for a company before where the MD's position was verbatim, actually said to us, I'm paying for this office. You will therefore be in this office during business hours. It's like, okay, You play a lot of golf, but that's cool. You don't like the inside of the office. And it's a really old-fashioned attitude when you don't need a customer shop front, you know,
You don't.
when everyone's on the phone anyway, and you never let customers come to your office. So, you know, like I said, you got the collaboration thing, but what COVID's done is it's forced people to collaborate online. It's forced stuff like this. We're doing Zoom, you know. I've got a Slack conversation going on over there right now with people I've worked with and worked in the same office as, but I haven't seen for 9 months nearly, you know.
Yeah. I think
It's forced
COVID's
the issue and
accelerated
yeah,
the adoption of technology more than anything else. That's
which
what I
makes the
see.
remote thing and the work from home thing a bit more, maybe not palatable to employers, but it's broadened the job market, I think, and
Yeah.
people's need to commute, which I think means that as a candidate now you can be a little bit more picky about commuting, you know, because it's, you know, it's what fits your lifestyle. If you want to commute for 4 or 5 hours a day, then go for it. If you
Yeah.
don't, I don't think you need to anymore. Yeah. So on that note, and getting back to something we said earlier, so you want to move from one field to another. How would you personally, Jude, describe, what would you recommend for someone to gain experience? Would you say go contracting, try different things, or look for permanent roles that can develop you in the areas you think will be useful to you and where you can bring value to an employer?
And that all depends on personality, you know, because I talk to a lot of people who are permanent people, and I said, dude, you've got mass skills, you know, you've got all these skills and stuff like that you can easily apply to being a contractor. Out of interest, why don't you contract? And they were like, I don't feel comfortable not knowing where I'm going to be by the end of the month. You know, the thought of having to go for more and more interviews, sometimes like 6 times a month, 6 times a year, is not appealing to that person. And they want to be able to work in a team, you know, rather than actually be, how you say, try to figure things out just by themselves. So, you know, to answer that question, is it perm or is it contract? I could tell you personally, for me, you know, working in a contract space has accelerated my adoption of new technology far quicker than if I was permanent.
You get to see more stuff in a shorter space of time.
Not only this, it's down to you to what you want to see.
I
right?
mean, in a production environment, because we can all, let's say, for example, using AWS, we can all sign up for AWS. We can all play with as many of the features as we can afford to, or we can squeeze into a free trial.
Yeah.
But that's not prod. You're never going to replicate what a company is actually doing.
No.
So what I'm saying is you might go to more places and see more different scenarios.
Yeah, you would. You know, you would definitely go to more. Again, it depends on your personality. So for me, when I signed up to be in a contract in the very first beginning, right, I read HMRC guidelines to being a contractor or a limited company as a contractor, and it specifically said, you know, you're supposed to be there for that time. You shouldn't be there like 2 years. Like, I've come across people who've been contracting, same role, doing the same job, same role, same company for 15, and it's just like, dude, that's not contracting. You know, that's a different means of permanent. So I've always had the mindset of, when I go into a contract role, I'm there from first month to, if it's 3 months, and just try and finish the job, be on time, you know, deliver, move on. So what will happen is that, yeah, you get to see more ways of doing things. But what I find, and you probably find this, is that you could go to a company that implements Azure and uses the same IaaS stack or PaaS, or two of them together, but it's deployed completely different, you know, and it's consumed completely different, and it's maintained completely different. And each company, so let's put it this way, you could be in a permanent role and be working in Azure for like 3 years, AWS, same, whatever, but you go from company to company, it's all consumed differently, because all of this cloud technology is fluid, you know. And this is the thing, you got, you know, like where I'm working here now for this client is that they're deploying Azure, but then what will happen is that we could then redeploying it using PowerShell for our machines. But then I'm doing a bit of Terraform, and then somebody else is doing a little bit of ARM template, in different sections. So there's a huge company, and each department has a different adoption. And it doesn't matter as long as you've actually made the deployment. Have you deployed X by X time? Yes. So that's all good. So the point I'm trying to make is that you're exposed to a lot more because you have them to go through a lot more companies, but your skill range gets very, very broad, but then you never get really deep into things. So that's why I find in this neck of the woods.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've been talking for a while. Do you want to carry this video on with some more topics, or should we save some for the next time?
Next time, man. Next time we talk more about like recruiters, and we talk about like how things work with these guys and the Rapo and stuff like that. Because I think it's a lot for people to digest, and to just let people know that, look, you're not alone. If it's confusing, it is because it is confusing. Even the people that do the hiring don't really know what they want yet because they're still going to procurement. It's all about attitude. You have to have a fluid attitude about things. If something doesn't work, try something different and keep doing that until it works. Or
very much like being an engineer.
Huh?
Very much like being an engineer.
Yeah,
the whole employment thing is just a solution you need to design and implement.
Yeah, that's the thing when it comes to getting the jobs. Just keep trying. And if you don't understand, find someone that does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, like I say, I think it's a very intimidating thing for some people to go. Like I've worked with a guy who he was pretty good, but he'd only worked in the one place in IT, and like you alluded to, you sit there and you say to someone, "Oh my God, your skills are amazing. Why don't you go and earn more somewhere?" And there's a fear of moving because there's this fear of, well, no one else is going to hire me. Yeah. And now we're in a situation where a lot of people are being forced. They're being forced to go out and find something else. And the thing is, someone else will hire you. That's the thing that's important. You always have, especially in IT, you've always got a skill somebody somewhere will pay for.
Yeah.
It might not be that you're doing the same thing you were doing previously. It might not be you even earn as much as you earned previously, although you can very quickly and easily scale back up and move to a point where you can exceed what you were on in previous roles. But the key thing is, yeah, it's scary as hell having to look for another job and having a period where you may not have anything, but there are techniques and there are ways of doing it. So, you need to know where to cast your net. You need to understand that the wish lists are very often unrealistic, but that shouldn't stop you applying. You just apply. Because if you've got 50% of what's on that wish list, it might be the right 50%. It might be that you're good enough at one part that they can say, well, it's all right that you can't script in Python. We don't really need that.
Yeah.
It's just nice to have, But it was on there, and it would put some people, it's put me off in the past. You look at something and go, I can't do that. I've been in positions where I have, been on my way out, going to, another role, and I've seen the role that I'm in advertised and not realized it was my role, and read it and gone, oh my God, I can't apply for that. And then got, hang on, no, that is my job. That's just a very technical way of putting it. There's stuff here I haven't used in a year, but I have touched, so it's a perspective thing. I think the main thing is just be brave. Just apply, just start talking to people, and don't be put off by wish lists.
It's confidence, and try to understand you're there to sell. You need to be able to sell yourself. If you can't sell yourself, then first of all, that's what you need to understand. You go for, if you're talking to a recruiter,
on its own.
That's the topic. We carry this on later. Got my day job to do. Anyway, on that bombshell, I'll see you later.